How have you been surviving 6 months of unemployment? Is it getting harder? Hi everyone, I'm Bala Wang, living in Shanghai. I'm 32 years old and I've been away from an 8-year financial job for 6 months. When I left my job 6 months ago, I put together a simple financial plan. My sense of security came from 2 sources. First, my government unemployment benefits, about $340 a month, which I can receive for up to 2 years. Here in Shanghai, that's enough to cover my basic daily expenses, not including rent. I also made one strict rule for myself: no non-essential spending during this period. The second part is a portion of my savings. I've made saving money a habit ever since I started working. I've set this money aside as a reserve for future training and learning new skills. The biggest uncertainty, however, was my YouTube income. At the time, my channel had just been accepted into the YouTube Partner Program. As a complete beginner, I had no idea what this plan could bring me, but I still held on to hope. As it turned out, I got incredibly lucky. YouTube rewarded me far more than I ever expected as a new creator. And this passive income has been enough to fully cover all of my personal living expenses over the past 6 months. Working away from a career in investment at the age of 32 sounds reckless, even crazy. But if you've watched my previous video about why I left finance, you might understand why I made that decision. What finally pushed me to leave it all behind was an unaccepted health scare. During a routine checkup, a nurse looked at my ultrasound and told me, very seriously, that there was a high chance I had breast cancer. Even though the follow-up test showed it was a false alarm, the long hours I spent waiting for the results forced me to rethink my entire life. My body had been sending me warning signs for a long time. It simply couldn't handle the constant pressure of the finance industry anymore. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and I want to stay healthy so I can watch her grow up. Looking back, these past 6 months of unemployment have felt less like a setback and more like a chance to heal, both physically and emotionally. Today, I treated myself to something I'd wanted to try for a long time: archery. It's not a very mainstream sport here in China. And my first trial lesson cost about $7 through a local group buying app. Shanghai has been brutally hot lately. It feels like you can barely breathe without air conditioning. But I still make it a point to hang out around 10 a.m. every weekday. That's been my routine since the very beginning of my unemployment. Weekdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. are strictly my own time, and the rest of the day is entirely for my daughter and my family. Looking at my very first target, I think I've fallen in love with it. After working up an appetite, I stopped by a solo hotpot restaurant for lunch. More and more young people are enjoying doing things on their own these days, so restaurants designed for solo diners have become really popular and convenient. I picked 9 beautifully portioned dishes. Having this much control over my meal felt surprisingly comforting. As it turned out, taking care of my health ended up changing much more than just my well-being. It also changes the way I manage my money. That brings me the biggest financial change over the past 6 months, something that happened in an area I never had time for when I was working. My personal investments. This has been by far the biggest surprise in my 6 months unemployment journey. Back when I worked in investment, my days were filled with endless meetings, spreadsheets, and data analysis. I had neither the time nor the mental energy to manage my own portfolio. So my personal investment returns were always disappointing. But the best part about leaving my job was getting full control of my time back. Having the time to dive deep into topics I genuinely enjoy, along with a bit of luck, helped me catch the huge rallies in golden and AI stocks over the past 6 months. Once my YouTube income became more stable, I moved my workspace from the public library to coffee shops. I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but when people in Shanghai coffee get excited, they get really loud. One of the biggest reasons I was lucky enough to sell the peak of that cycle was what I overheard in those coffee shops. I noticed that people all around me, even those with no investing experience at all, were enthusiastically sharing their expert opinions on gold and AI with their friends. In finance, there's a saying, when people who normally have low interest in the markets suddenly can't stop talking about a certain investment. It's often a sign that a market is nearing a cycle peak. So while everyone else was getting more and more excited, I quietly took my profits and stepped away. So, looking back on the past 6 months, here is where things stand. My original savings and unemployment benefits are still sitting untouched in the bank. My YouTube income has covered all of my living expenses except rent. And my short-term personal investments have performed far better than I expected. That said, I'm staying grounded. A big part of this came down to luck. These are only the first 6 months. Life is a marathon, and what matters most is what comes next. If you'd like to follow my journey, don't forget to subscribe. I will keep sharing everything honestly, just as it is. And if you are curious about how I managed my finances during that incredibly anxious first month of unemployment, or while I decided to leave the corporate world, check out this video right here. That's where this journey began. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.